Station to station, we are doing another state of the season here at the All-Star break. The Jays coming to the All-Star break 50 and 41, one game up in the wild card. They come off of two series, one versus the Chicago White Sox, the other versus the Detroit Tigers. We'll talk about them very briefly in a moment. But today, uh, this evening, Rob and Dustin join me for a PitchCom podcast. And boys, why don't you just tell me how you're feeling here at the All-Star break? The All-Star game is actually currently ongoing as we speak, and maybe how you feel going forward uh, this season.
Yeah, thanks. I think that, I was thinking about it a little bit on the way home today and just, looking at the where they are in the middle of the season here. Um, it's probably a little bit of a disappointment for, how high our expectations were at the start of the season. But, I was trying to be a little bit optimistic and just say, we're 9 games over 500. We're in a playoff spot, and we probably haven't, played the best baseball that they could play. And so, I think there's some opportunity to um, kick off the second half of the season strong, you know, and there's a lot of optimism there. I think I have in how it could go moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dustin, saying that the expectations were really high this season as they were last season. And then this year, we think that they're not a good team, but like you said, 9 games over 500, they're not a bad team. I think what the problem that what our view is that they're not a fun team to watch like they used to be. We were always used to seeing the home runs from Vladdy and Teoscar and Bo last year and Marcus Simeon the year before. And now when we're watching them, we're not seeing these long ball games. We're not seeing these home runs. And I know a few of the couple of games that I went to, one of them with Alex, they score all the runs at the beginning of the game. And then the rest of the game, there's no run. So we lose sight of the fact that this is not a fun game to watch because no runs are being scored, no homers are being hit. Does that make them a bad team? The stats are there. They're 9 games over 500 in the best division in baseball against these teams that even the teams that aren't good are still better than some of the other teams in the other divisions, like, the Red Sox and the Yankees. And the curveball, pun intended, that Baltimore is doing extremely well and Tampa's doing extremely well. So the expectations were high for them to, make it to the World Series and be the top of the division. So again, they're not a bad team. It's just a different team than I think what we're used to seeing. Overall, the first half, again, you're over 500. You're a game or a couple games out of the wild card spot. There's still a lot of baseball to be played, and I'm sure they're going to continue on their winning streaks, and continue to win games. We just hope that it's going to be a bit more fun to watch.
Well, and I think what you said about less home runs. I do think that in the month of April, like we were supposed to get this look into the team. It was a different look team, and it was exciting, but it was kind of they were playing a little bit differently, and they're double steals and putting being a little bit more creative and trying to move runners along and get them in. And I don't think it was ever a secret that home runs were going to be down. They traded essentially home runs and shitty outfield defense for you know much better outfield defense. And I guess in Kevin Kiermaier, there was a bit of
Yeah,
some
and
average in contact there.
Yeah,
and
and
that's a
just
good
being
and
from the
that's a
left side.
yeah, and that's a good point, right? Because last year they needed everybody was like they need more left-handed bats. They
Yeah,
need better defense. Well, they went out and they got that, and yeah, you got to give
I do.
something up to get something, and that's the trade-off, right? Doesn't mean they're a worse team. It just means they're a different team and something that we're not used to seeing because we are used to seeing those long ball games.
Yeah, I think I agree with you that home runs are fun to see and that makes the game fun. I think baseball can be fun in a lot of different ways. But for me, what makes it not fun is just how tight everything is. I mean, I haven't really looked, at numbers or anything, but it just seems like there's quite a bit of games that they've played that are less than 3 runs, separating the two teams. There's always, even the games that they win, there's always like this sort of, um, you know, hard fought nature to the game, and there's no, just no stompings. And they've had a handful here and there, but just not the kind of like shut them down, stomp on them and, kick them when they're down kind of team that we thought the offense would be a little more than it is. And so that's what I'd like to see a little more, you know, in the future. Just I think part of it has been just the runners scoring position issue that we've been talking about. But part of it is just, man, it just seems like they're playing to the score and not. I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
that's I mean, if I was gonna take 1 point away from what I want to see better in the second half, it's the runners in scoring position. And that I think would make the game more fun too. When you have somebody on second, even if Vladdy doesn't hit a home run and he's hitting a single, and you know, Kiermaier's coming in from second and scoring a run, or you have a runner on first, first and third, and to see those running and scoring positions, that's I feel where the biggest improvement needs to happen. And that'll kind of kill two birds with one stone. They're going to win more games and it'll be more fun to watch.
Well, I definitely would agree, Rob. I think what I'm kind of looking for, and I think it will tie into what you're saying. I'd like to see some better plate appearances, right? And it's not that this team strikes out a lot, or it's if you look at most of the hitting stats, they're kind of like around like 10th, like they're top half or maybe top third, I should say. But they just I don't know, sometimes they just don't seem to have really good plate appearances. And I don't know if maybe this whole, let's hit it to the opposite field approach is, I don't know if it's maybe just messing with them a little bit and kind of confusing them and as to what they need to do when they step in. But I'd like to see just quality plate appearances. And you know what? If that like to me, a quality plate appearance isn't always, you know, getting a walk or a hit. Like, if you're uh if you listen, if it's like a 10 pitch at bat and you still and you know what you get out, well, listen, you at least got 10 pitches out of it. You saw everything that the pitcher was likely throwing. So I just want to see some better plate appearances, I think, in the second half. And I think that will lead into probably success in all the situations that we've talked about and been frustrated over.
Yeah, it's funny. I kind of always thought that this team was kind of good on that aspect of the game, or at least it has been in the last few years. Um, Bo, and I think Brendan Belt sometimes will put it together some pretty good plate appearances. But you're right. I think when we see some of these guys uh, struggling, that is kind of what I notice as well. You know, I think Dalton Varsho is a pretty big culprit of that. I don't think I've ever remember him seeing like having a at bat where I was like, "Whoa, that was a pretty good at bat," even though he didn't get out. Like he's usually just, I don't know, he either bunts
Yeah.
for a single or
Yeah.
he's
I mean, I,
grounding
I
it
I'm
to third.
I see the since we're talking about like, state of the first of the season, the first half, but also lack of consistency. I don't think everybody, like, you'll see Brandon Belt do well for a few games and then drop off for a few games, and they're not clicking at the same time. Same with pitching, right? Your pitching might be great, but you're not getting any offense. So I don't see enough consistency for them to string enough wins together for a good period of time. And if you're winning 5 games and then you maybe lose two, you win four, you lose one. It's just that consistency. And again, with the hitters and the pitching and just wins versus losses. So that's one thing that I think that I noticed the first half.
Here's a question I have. I was thinking a little bit, about the trade deadline and about what this team needs and let's say what it wants and what it can get. I'm just wondering, maybe from you guys, what you think that um, we can reasonably expect from the trade deadline, given, I mean, I don't know, you probably don't know the farm system um, any more better than I do, which is not really at all. But I guess, what do you think we can get and what do you want?
I think mm, the want is another bat, another big bat. There's some rumors of bringing back even Teoscar Hernandez. Um, Not even so much a left-handed bat because I think the Jays stats, I mean, they're almost better. If they had an all-righty lineup, I think it would be better than their mixed lineup now. So, who's out there, who's available, I don't know enough to comment on that because we also have to give something up. So, are you going to give up Matt Chapman for Teoscar Hernandez? I don't know. I mean, at the last year you wanted better defense, not so much home runs. Now you kind of want those home runs and those hits. Maybe the defense, maybe an Espinal is going to be okay at third. Maybe you can slot him in there. Is that a fair trade? I don't know. I don't know enough about the numbers, but the want would be some sort of a bat inserted into that lineup that is going to produce big hits when it matters.
Well, Rob, it's funny you say bringing back to Oscar because as soon as you said that, my eyes lit up because I believe he is a free agent this off season, I believe, and he seems to his kind of he would bring a lot to the table in terms of someone who could just a good bat, off the bench or DH. I know we have Brandon Belt there now. He's obviously a lefty, but in situations where there's a lefty on the mound, you could have someone like Teoscar. Uh,
Yeah.
it would essentially be like Matt Chapman is also a free agent, so it would be flipping two
Rental for
contracts
rental.
for each other.
As,
Yeah,
as
it's a rental
it,
for rental. I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know. I'm not. Ugh. Like
here's
does it weaken the team more than strengthen it? I don't know. It's a good question.
I'm thinking right now, like, can you imagine if we had last year's team today and today's team last year? I think at that point you're now for sure you're looking at World Series champions because everything we wanted, like I said, last year, we got this year, but it seems that everything that we needed last year would be better this year. Like the Teoscars, the right-handed bats, maybe not so much the pitching, but I just it's just funny how it works, right? Like it's almost like things of that saying like be careful what you wish for because you just might get it.
right.
Well, this is what we wanted: left-handed bats, big defense, but
Well,
it's not
yeah,
giving us wins.
yeah. I mean, I think Teoscar is probably a little bit of a stretch. Here's my kind of issue with that concept of like trading from the major league roster is like I don't know what that does to like the team chemistry. What is that kind of message saying like, oh, we're not good enough, or I don't know if that's something you want to do right now. My thought, I agree with you, Rob, in terms of the need is they need a bat, but I think realistically they need like a right-handed bench bat, like a fourth outfielder, like somebody who you can bring in that um, you know close and late situation where you need a hit that's not, Kevin Biggio or
Yeah,
Espinal off the bench, right? Somebody who can, a big bopper like that. I don't have a name
yeah,
either,
yeah. I
um,
don't.
but to me that's one of the needs, and that's I think probably a more realistic kind of guy that you can get with what they have, at least what I know they have in terms of the farm system, because I don't know, trading from the major league roster is going to be difficult. And I don't know, like, do you want to trade away Matt Chapman? I know it, he's a free agent, and we're probably not going to have him next year, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
The
if you
the
want
other
to do
the other thing based on my comment before about last year is like I know I talked a little bit earlier about they're not a fun team to watch. Maybe it's because they're not having fun. Maybe you need Teoscar back to pour seeds on your head or bring back the home run
Oh, for
jacket.
fuck's sakes,
That
Rob, come on.
Okay, here's
Like,
here's here's
we don't
here's
need seeds and home run jackets. They're not going to
it's
solve the problems of this
listen,
team, all right?
listen. It's just
look.
it's just funny that like everything that we wanted last year and that we didn't want, you wonder if we're looking for that now, that right-handed bat, that that big bat off maybe off the bench. Well, and then we didn't want them to have fun last year. Well, now, hey, maybe that's what they need is to have a bit more fun, and maybe it loosens them up and they get more wins, and Vladdy feels a bit more comfortable in his hitting more dingers. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm
I
not saying
actually,
I'm a fan of it, but
yeah, I actually think that they're gonna come out of this All-Star break, I think, with a little bit more of that attitude. I don't know if
yeah,
they're
I think
bringing the seeds back, but there might be a home run derby jacket that's in that dugout.
you know what? Hey,
Um,
Vladdy was there, he was having fun. Bo was there, he's having fun.
yeah,
Uh, Jordan Romano looks like he's having fun. Wit, I just see him as styling and profiling with his shades and his suit. But you know what? Maybe they bring that fun attitude back, and who knows? Maybe they do turn it around
yeah.
because they're a little bit more easygoing.
Well,
So,
I can see, we didn't mention it, but Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the first Blue Jays home run derby champion as of last
Yeah,
night, 25 home runs in the
yeah, very nice to
final
see.
round, which is I guess, a record, and nice to see. So maybe, I think I'd be okay with the home run jacket after that title last
That
night.
or that
yeah,
chain that he was the
yeah,
chain that he got from Ken Griffey.
yeah. Maybe the chain
Um,
will be there, and maybe
Was it from Ken Griffey or was it from Marshawn
oh no,
Lynch?
May, you're right. Marshawn Lynch, Griffey gave him the trophy.
yeah,
Dustin, can I ask you a question?
you can.
Did you listen to our last episode where I proposed a trade of substantial fantasy?
I didn't hear that part yet. I had started it, but I hadn't gotten through it. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go through this quickly because Rob's already heard this. So the proposed trade is Matt Chapman for Nolan Arenado. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So the play here is that St. Louis is garbage this year. They're in last place, and basically they're not going anywhere this year. The play is that Nolan Arenado would be essentially a salary dump. He is on a salary of 35 million, and Matt Chapman is a free agent. So basically, I think there would have to be some make weights in the trade, but basically you would in some ways would be upgrading, but you would be paying a lot of
A
money for
lot
that,
more.
a lot of
But
that
they
money.
can
So I
certainly
don't know if
afford that, and I mean, I don't know what Cincinnati's attitude on him is,
St. Louis.
or St. Louis rather. I don't know what St. Louis's attitude is, in terms of wanting to keep him around, or whether he's like a lead weight on them or not. But from a financial point of view. But I mean, yeah, I mean that that would be certainly a.
Oh,
Uh,
also the other thing that's kind of intrigues me is that Matt Chapman and Nolan Arenado were high school teammates.
oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so high school teammates being traded for each other. But you know, Nolan Arenado has a no trade clause, so chances of this happening are pretty much
Right? Yeah, he's not going to
zilch.
waive that
But
for Toronto.
yeah, well, and I don't know, maybe he's interested in a playoff run or whatever. But just something I just something interesting that I kind of came up with last week.
Well, it certainly is a fantasy land trade, but
Maybe they should bring back
I'd do
Loris
it.
Gurriel Jr. I mean, he is an all-star playing right now in left
Well,
field. So
there's a certain pitcher on the Cubs who's available, probably.
yeah,
I doubt is going to come to Toronto, but um,
I think he loves it here. I think given a chance he
yeah,
would.
I think
But I
Strom
don't think
is
the khakis as
yeah,
they're called are gonna want him back because
yeah. That
he's too into the
relationship,
social media.
the relationship's not good. But yeah, that would be an interesting comeback. Just bring back all the old greatest hits. Let's do it.
Well, again, like even in the second half of the season, I mean, you're looking at a potential Hyunjin Ryu return. Manoa hopefully is getting back on track. There's still that Chad Green. He should be back soon, or not back because he never really left because he hasn't played yet. But if he makes a return, he's supposed to be a good closer or middle relief pitcher. So
Yeah.
maybe maybe you don't make trades. Maybe getting those three guys back is almost equivalent as
Well,
a
yeah,
trade.
yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking about as well in terms of the needs, because I would have said maybe 2 weeks ago that they need to get a starting pitcher, and now it doesn't look like they need to do that. I mean, they could probably. What would be nice is probably again like a more reasonable sort of I don't know, like a Mitch White that they got last year, right? I mean, he didn't turn out great, but I mean, he was supposed to be just a guy that can get some innings, maybe a long relief guy now. Like if Manoa can at least hold his own to 80% of what he was last year, and Ryu can come back, you know, that's a six-man rotation, which
Yeah.
maybe this rotation needs for a month or two just to see where things shake out,
Give the arms a break
Yeah,
for Gosman and Bassett because stats show they pitch a bit better on 6 days rest
yeah.
or a full five. But or you go to the 5-man rotation and you put like, even Kikuchi is in as a long man out of the bullpen. I mean, he did it
Uh,
last year and he's even better. I know. Do I still have the super faith in him and
No,
even
it's
Manoa?
not that. Is I just don't think that's fair to him. I mean, he's been so good this year. I don't
That's
know.
true.
Just
That's true.
like
But you
last.
won't you won't do it for Ryu though, right? Like
No,
who
well,
who
that's it too. Yeah, I guess that's
like,
it. I mean, these kind of things maybe work themselves out. Maybe
I
maybe
guess as
God
they
for.
say, it's a good problem to have,
Yeah.
providing they come back in a in proper form.
Well, exactly. Well, that's the other thing, right? Somebody, if Manoa falls on his face, or God forbid, Gosman gets injured and has to go on
Hmm.
IL for a couple weeks, then
And I mean Manoa, although he pitched well, I mean it was against the Tigers.
yeah,
So
Hey, that team no hit the Jays on Saturday, all
well
right?
that
All
that's
right. So come on.
yeah, that
Um,
kind of would be a good point to say, the last two games of the season or the last two series, like I wanted and my expectation was a sweep for both games. I think that's what they needed to make up for the, you know, previous series loss that they had. Um, but 5 out of 6, I mean, 5 out of 6 wins, I'll definitely take that. Unfortunately, the one loss is, yeah, like a no hit. Like, come on, those guys, you guys are better. You guys are better than that.
man, I feel like I called it to myself, although so I have no proof, but I called it in like the fifth inning. I'm like, holy crap, they're getting no hit. Like this is gonna happen. I knew it. I could feel it. I could just something was telling me that that was gonna happen.
I just can't believe that the manager would pull out a starting pitcher who's no hitting so far. Like that seems to be more common these days. I'm like, if
He
you're
had
no
racked
hitting
up
somebody,
a lot of pitches. I think he was,
did he? Okay.
getting close to the 100 mark, and he's a young guy. I don't know if they wanted to run him out there for another 2.5 innings or whatever it was.
Well, to close the first half with series win, two series wins, go into a break with some positive vibes.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? The division has actually tightened up a bit. Tampa Bay
Yeah,
went on a big losing streak there, which
yeah.
we said needed to happen um, for this to be a more interesting division, and it's become interesting. I mean, Baltimore's only 2 games back of Tampa now, and the Jays are only 7 games back. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at, but there's a lot of games that the Jays have against Tampa at the end of the year, and if
Hmm.
they can, put together their own little hot second half, and Tampa Bay kind of drags a little and cools down, that's going to be an interesting end of September when I think the Jays play the Tampa like 7 times or 9 times or something crazy.
All right, gentlemen, I was wondering if you could give me an unsung hero of the first half of the season.
Unsung hero.
Danny Jansen.
Good pick.
That is a
I
good
have
pick.
a my
I would
my
just,
pick is Trevor Richards.
Man,
yeah.
I feel like Trevor Richards is pretty sung, but that
He's
I think
I think
maybe
he's
because he
pretty
was terrible last year, and I think they didn't expect him to be as good this year. But I mean, I couldn't see that. I don't know if I would maybe
he's
just
been
choose
lights out though.
yeah. I mean Jansen just because he's kind of clutch in those spots. I mean the game on Sunday before home run to tie it up, and that's not the first time he's done it. So he as a catcher, um, it seems that the head office and the coaches feel more comfortable with him behind the plate, other than uh the other guy. I will not say his name.
um, unsung hero. I'll go with Nate Pearson. I think he's I mean, we expected him to do pretty well, but I think he's had a pretty good season, and I don't think he's getting recognized, at least in the media, for it as much as he should.
Triple
Um,
digit Nate Pearson, good pick.
yeah, in general, I mean, the whole bullpen has been pretty solid, uh, even though we complain about it quite a bit. You know, it seems, I think that's been a pretty unsung part of this team, and that's held them um, to where they are right now.
Well, I think the pitching in general has been pretty good. I think it's the hitting that we have gripes over. All right, so the rest of July
Sorry,
we
I'm
have
just gonna step in for a second. I'm just watching the All-Star game, and you actually have Bichette, Merrifield, and Guerrero as your first, second, and shortstop.
very
Nice.
nice.
So
Very
I just thought
nice.
that's a nice little tidbit of information. Go ahead.
Well, so the remaining July opponents for the Jays, we have a couple home series coming up. Arizona starting on Friday. Following that, we have San Diego, and then the Jays head on the road and will be in Seattle, in LA against the Dodgers, then in Anaheim against the Angels, and they finish the month in Baltimore, and that series actually kind of stretches into August. Seems like we have a lot of, I guess, what Dustin would call winnable games or winnable series. I will actually be at the game on Friday against Arizona. They seem to be playing quite well. San Diego seems to be doing their best National League Jays impression, where they're
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah.
big
Yeah, yeah,
disappointment.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Seattle, 1 game over 500. The LA Angels, 1 game under 500.
And
Of
they
course, the
just
Dodgers are the
lost,
Dodgers.
and,
So,
and LA just lost, Trout,
Trout. Yeah.
and Shohei's down with a blister. I don't know if he'll be back by then. Maybe he will, but yeah, they're in rough shape. So you're right. I mean, this is on paper it looks like
Opportunity.
a tough stretch, but some of these
Yeah,
teams are
I totally agree.
underperforming and in trouble. So this is a big opportunity. And then even beyond that one, I think there's a couple tough series in there, and then there's another big, I think, opportunity towards the end of August, where there's a couple, you know, weak teams. So they have a real big, um, I feel like we're saying opportunity too much. A big opportunity to take the
No,
reins
that's
here
but
in
that's what it is. There's an
yeah,
opportunity here, so you know, cash in on it,
yeah.
take advantage of it.
Well, I'm going to predict that they win the series against Arizona, San Diego, Seattle. They lose against the Dodgers because they'll be on the road. They'll win against the Angels, and they get swept by Baltimore. How about that?
I think they're gonna turn it around against Baltimore. I'll be
Well,
willing to
I
bet
hope
that.
so.
They need to.
That's
Holy
a
shit.
series you got to win.
Yeah, that you know.
Like
It's at home too.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a must-win series. I'll be curious to see what Baltimore who they're playing during that stretch, and same with
Tampa.
Tampa.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're playing Atlanta at some point, and Atlanta can
Here's what we need.
take
We
some
need
wins. I don't know if they are, but
here's what we need to happen. Okay, the home run derby fixed Vladdy, and he just goes off. He like, you know, fixes everything, and he's just
that's
like
like
carries his team on his
the
back.
reset, right? Like the
Yeah, Manoa's
DC
figured it out.
universe reset.
Manoa's figured it out. He's back to his old self. Ryu comes in, he's dominating, and Varsho figures his crap out, and
Well, come on, that's not going to happen.
yeah, this is what's gonna happen now. I can feel
All
it.
right. Well, I like your optimism.
Yeah, and Kirk's gonna figure it out too. He'll come back.
Oh,
No, I don't know
we
about
should
Prove me
him.
have.
wrong.
I think
Honestly,
we should have an
Prove me
over
wrong,
under bet on his
Alejandro.
average.
no, honestly, I'm kind of losing my faith in Kirk. I think he's a little bit of a paper tiger. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Well, I think that is all the time we have. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks.